Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Aaliyah Cheyenne, and I'm so excited today to have Salenna Green on the show. Hi, Selena. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm super excited. So, Selena and I are doing an episode swap. Selena is the host of the Hot Girls Healing podcast, and I'm so excited to have her on this show. And I'm excited to have been a guest on her show. So, we're here now and we're doing it. So, before we jump in, I just want to give the audience a little tidbit about how we connected. So Selena and I host our podcast on the same platform, and we actually connected in like an online community group that the platform has, and agreed that we were a really cool fit for each other for our shows. And it's really nice, especially in the podcasting space, to make connections that way, whether it be through conferences or online platforms, and like meet incredible people who have incredible platforms who are really talking about important things. So I'm so excited to be doing this swap. But before we jump into our interview for today, our conversation, I would love to kick it over to you, Selena, to tell folks a little bit more about you, who you are in the world today, and how you'd like to be known.
Thank you so much. I actually really appreciate what you said really quick before I introduce myself about being able to find each other in the podcasting community because it is vast. There are a lot of different kind of podcasts out there. So to find a thread, like that little golden thread that connects you with another podcast that is like you, oh, I do not take it for granted that we know each other in this space now. And I'm really, really excited and grateful that we have done this episode swap because that also does not always happen. But thank you so much for having me, everybody. My name is Salenna Green. I am the host of the Hot Girls Healing podcast, but I'm also an artist. I'm a community organizer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. So I do a lot. I do a lot of things. And you likely, if you get out in the Seattle area, you will see me at some of these events. Not at all of them, child, because I be tired too. One thing I do is take a nap as well. So
Amen.
I like to keep my life balanced and fruitful.
That's beautiful and that's amazing. You mentioned so many things in that introduction. Thank you. So, artist, organizer, creative, healer, all of these incredible things that are so important. And I would love to talk a little bit more about just the gifts that you share with the world because those titles, in and of themselves, are gifts. But I'm very curious about how that shows up to you in your community organizing work, how that shows up to you as a creative and an artist. Like, I would love to hear more about the gifts you have and how you share them with the world.
I love this question. So, being that I am a multifaceted person, and I actually always have been. But in the past, I would try to just like choose one of the things. I had like this mastery mindset, and I really just wanted to be amazing at one thing and be like the PhD at, whatever that thing was. I actually planned to go to school and get a PhD. So as I'm, exploring things, I go to art school, I go to college and graduate. I get my bachelor's in community psychology. And so there's always this community thing in my life. And once I graduated and I entered the workforce, I'm in the nonprofit sector. So art was like on the back burner. I was being
Mm-hmm.
practical. It was about approaching my community and really trying to solve some of the systemic issues that had personal effects in my life. Things like the war on drugs, things like poverty, things like lack of resources sometimes, or a parent who was able to navigate resources. So all of these things were happening. All of these things were informing my choices about what was possible for my future. If you asked me what I was going to be doing when I was 12, I was about to be dancing for the rest of my life, dancing, singing on stage, performing. And by the time I was filling out college applications, I was like, okay, so psychology, obviously, right? Because what is actually happening and why? And so it was actually about being practical, making money, figuring some stuff out. And by the time I graduated, I was still in that space of hustle, of produce, achieve, make it happen. And that lasted for a while as well. But somewhere in that grind, I started to not be okay. I started to physically not feel well. I was neglecting my health to just focus on my studies. But, you get to a point where you're neglecting yourself for this, for that, for the other. They're all really great reasons. They all seem so much more important at the time. But my body got to a point, as the body does, where it is no longer accepting not being a priority. And so I got to the point where I was, at school, going to my college course, but having to pause like 6 times on the way up the stairs because I'm losing my breath and I feel like I'm going to pass out. And it actually took me a while to be like, I should go to the doctors. Like that's how focused I was on the next assignment. Like I was like, oh right, this is actually not normal. I'm a pretty fit person. Like I should be able to get up the stairs without having to take a break. So I ended up having to reprioritize. And I still was able to graduate college, but I was no longer on the deans and presidents list like I was when I started. And I left out very different than I went in. And so my healing journey became more important to me. And through healing, I was really just trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Once I got to a certain point of reflection and really dialogue with myself, my highest self, my inner child, my inner teenager. I figured some things out in me and I'm like, oh, I'm not broken. I'm not sad. I'm not these things that I had unconsciously internalized. Like, look, on the outside, I'm fabulous. I'm cute. I'm having fun. I'm achieving, right? I'm doing the things. But then I'm also sad and I'm dysregulated. And so I was having to reconcile these two things. How am I doing the thing, but I'm also not happy? How is this possible? And the psychology degree was not helping me figure it out the way that I thought it was going to. so So it really was this journey of deep reflective healing through community work. At the same time that I'm developing holistic healing programming for my community, I'm also going to therapy, I'm journaling, I'm meditating, I'm crying a lot. I've got to the point where I'm telling people my healing cost a lot of tears because your girl was crying about everything for a while. It was a drop of a hat, a pin needle, and I'm crying. And it was really just allowing myself to cry. I went from not feeling any emotion that I felt like was just dissatisfying. If it was an emotion that I didn't want to feel, I just didn't. Compartmentalization, ignoring it, stuffing it down. And so when I finally got to a point where, okay, I'm going to feel, then it's like you have to have some intelligence around that. You have to be able to deal with your own emotions, and I couldn't. So it was a long process. I've told you the long version. Short version is I try to do all of the things that I can do, and I try to have a growth mindset now because it took me so long to get to where I am now that I want to let all of the sides of me shine. I want you to see the business owner. I want you to see the healer. I want you to see the artist. And I want to celebrate my journey, not only where I've come, but where I have to go as well, because it's not over.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I know there's so much there. I know one of the things we connected on early was just our passion around the nonprofit sector
Mm-hmm.
and the impactful work that that sector does when it comes to systemic oppression, recognizing that we live in a society that, you know, probably wouldn't need so many doing all these things if there weren't so many systemic problems in the first place that were structurally made and put in place. But it's so interesting to me to hear you speak about your experience and your health, like the impacts on health that you were feeling while you were going through school and your day to day, because there are so many Black women in particular, Black women and femmes in particular, who everyday stresses, everyday microaggressions, all of these emotions and things that we bottle up and feel and suppress can lead to autoimmune conditions. Like so many studies are finding that now, and how important it is for us to take a step back to actually listen to our bodies and rest when we need to. I know medical racism exists, but advocate for ourselves when we do go to the doctor and we're
Mm-hmm.
explaining what experiences we're having and what's going on. I literally just read a post on LinkedIn this morning of like a 45-year-old woman who was advocating for herself to get like a colonoscopy, but
Mm-hmm.
the doctors were telling her she doesn't need it because she's not 50 yet. But she felt like she needed it because colon cancer runs in her family.
Mm.
And she was adamant and vocal about getting checked early. And when they finally gave in and did it, despite the fact that her insurance told her she was too young, despite the fact that multiple doctors kept telling her no, they found multiple precancerous polyps on her colon, and that they wouldn't have found that had she not advocated for herself and listened to her own body even when these doctors were telling her no. And that comes up too so much when it comes to our health and our healing, learning how to advocate for ourselves and listen to ourselves and be vocal about our needs and what we're feeling. So hearing you share your story and your example of your health challenges and experiences that you were feeling, and even though it might have taken you a while to go get it checked out and like go inward and look for the medical support, look for the internal support to take care of yourself, you did it, and now you're in a much better space for having done so, which is a really beautiful thing. And even going back to your community psychology degree and this sense of community, like it looks different for everyone. And I know that like in your organizing work and the workshops that you facilitate around self-love, the energy you pour into your podcast, like all of these are expressions of how you pour into community, which is so beautiful. So I would love to hear a little bit more about you as the business owner, because some folks listening might not know that hat. They might not
Yeah.
know that about you. And then, after sharing about that, I would love to also hear a little bit more about how you kind of take off the hat of the facilitator and building on those rituals and routines that you do to take care of yourself, that you've put in place to support yourself and your health and all of those things.
Yeah. For whatever reason, the business side is where I'm very comfortable. My ancestors were business owners and entrepreneurs and people who made
Yes.
it happen for themselves. It's just that hustle is in me. I don't gotta fight that. I often lean into the hustle. It is a place where I bring together my care for community and that little spirit of hustle. I bring them together and I'm like, okay, what can I do? How can I move in a way that is going to benefit my community? And I know that feels like small probably, but that's actually a very big statement in my opinion, because imagine if we all thought that way. Imagine if we all thought, what could I do that's going to benefit all of us? And that's part of what I want to do through my business is help change minds, help change the way we think as a community. Because community psychology is about not only like the community, obviously, but how the health of the community, the way the community is thinking and moving affects each individual, right? Because if I'm okay, but I'm the only one in my community that's okay, am I really okay? No, I'm not. Of course not, because we're all connected. So when it comes to business for me, my business is a special purpose corporation. So I have a for-profit business that it is not tied to making money, which ask my accountants, like they like, yeah, we know. Like the point of my business is to promote this special purpose. And the special purpose is self-love and relationship healing, right? So why self-love? Well, self love is why I have a business. Self love will have you starting businesses. Self love will have you giving yourself your best chance to succeed. Self love will have you being your own coach. When you fail, self love is going to help you figure out how to get back up. It's not going to chastise you for having failed at all. It's about your relationship to yourself. And then it's about your relationship to others. Because community work was really easy for me. Caring about other people comes naturally to me. And I was also raised to do it because I was raised, to be a woman. I was conditioned to be a girl. And that is what my understanding of that conditioning was. Serve others, make sure other people are taken care of, make sure other people feel comfortable, make sure other people are well, and then maybe think about yourself. And that way of operating in the community was not sustainable for me. So I actually had to flip it around. I had to rewire my thinking to be like, oh, I have to take care of myself first. I have to make sure I'm well. I have to make sure I have what I need. And then I'm going to show up in the community in a way that's so much different. I'm going to show up without resentment. In my professional business encounters, you're not going to have to worry about my business showing up without our deliverables, because I've not agreed to any deliverables that I couldn't deliver. Right? Like, I'm not going to overextend my business, and then I lose the trust of the community because my business is, again and again, not delivering what I said I was going to deliver. It's these things, business relationships, personal relationships, they move in similar ways. And so when it comes to my business, I'm doing things like workshops around self-love. I'm currently developing something around conflict resolution, right? Because these are the skills that my business sees are valuable for our community to have. My business does healing related retail items. We have things like self-love journals where there are prompted questions and space to explore your feelings, space to explore different concepts, different relationships that you have, and how those relationships, concepts, beliefs are affecting your life. I have other products that I'm coming out with. There's smaller things, bookmarks, just to promote those moments of quiet, those moments of stillness. So everything in my business is about promoting wellness, promoting health in our community through self-love and through relationship healing.
That's really rich and that's really powerful. You said a couple of things that really stood out to me. Just in terms of how we grow up and the conditioning that we grow up with, like from the moment we come out of the womb, it's the gender reveal parties and the pink or the blue, like, that kind of stuff. And I think it's really powerful to be in an era where people are kind of deconstructing that and reclaiming their identities for themselves outside of what they've been conditioned to do. But even in speaking about girlhood and womanhood and feminine energy, like it's a very nurturing energy, and we are in a lot of ways conditioned to be nurturers. We are automatically assumed to be like community minded and family focused. Like that's what we get from we're little girls, from the moment that the baby doll is put in our hands, from the moment where we're getting like the kitchen set and like the easy bake oven and like
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. And that's not always the way that the boys are growing up. There's not a lot of space for nuance to do anything in between. Like I didn't get a science kit when I was growing up, like
And
that
ask
kind of
for
stuff.
one,
So
even if you ask.
there might have, depending on who you're being raised by, there might be pushback. So that really stood out to me with you discussing that. But I also love the way you framed how your business is an expression of self-love. Like when you have self-love, like you're able to do all these other things. I think the power of self-love is the recognition of what you might need, but also what your community might need, what others might benefit from too, which I think is really beautiful and really powerful. So I feel like there are so many ways that might have and things that could have pointed you on this journey, but I'm really curious to know if there was an aha or a light bulb moment that kind of really set you off on this like self-love and liberation journey, and not just the healing aspect of it, because I understand that story, but just really it clicking that like self-love is the answer type of thing.
Yeah. I've thought about this a lot because I've been on this journey for a minute. I'm 31 years old today while we're filming this. And I felt like, oh, when I was 25, like something clicked. And when I was, 20, something clicked. I really have to go all the way back to being 18 years old. When I was 18 years old, I was just sitting in a home full of dysregulated people, just feeling very alone, feeling very discontent to say the least. And I took like a deep breath and I really just said to myself, this cannot be my life. This cannot be my life. And I literally said, my life is going to get better from this day forward. Literally, this right here is the day that my life is moving forward from. And ever since that one day, I can literally say every year has gotten better. No matter what has been happening, every year found more peace in my life because I declared it for myself that day. And other than it being, I think, a moment where I think being at 18 was the moment where I said, okay, now it's my turn. Like, I get to clock in. It's on me now. And there comes a time in your life where you want to regain that power, because that is truth. That's truth, what I felt in that moment. But there's a lot in our lives that comes to take away our inherent power, that inherent personal power that we all have. There's a lot that will come into your life that will take that power from you, or make you feel like you don't have that power, because the power cannot be taken away. But if you don't recognize it while it's there, you know, it can become hard to recognize. And it was in that moment that I think I started to recognize that power in me again. And so I didn't reclaim it all in that day, and everything didn't change overnight, but I can say it was that moment of just, I needed something different.
It's really powerful. I think for so many people it is that moment, like, of knowing that you need something different. Like, when you look around at your circumstances and your environment and it's just like, okay, enough is enough. Like, something has to change. I want to do something different for myself. I think that's really powerful, and to recognize that at 18, that's a young age to realize that something has got to give and something has to be different. So I think that's really powerful. So thank you for sharing that example. I want to talk a little bit more about Hot Girls Healing, because that is the podcast. That is an extension of your community care. That is an extension of your self love, but also your love for community. And I'm very curious to know, like, from you, from your mind, what does a hot girl healing do? Like, what does that look like? What does that mean? How does one become said hot girl healing? Like, just talk about all things hot girls healing.
I love it. So, Hot Girls Healing, like, that's me. I'm a hot girl who is healing. The Hot Girls Healing podcast is, it could be called a Hot Girls Healing podcast. You know what I mean? But I wanted to say because, this is a Hot Girls Healing podcast for whatever hot girl finds it. And to me, that just means I want to, again, honor every part of me. Do I like to shake my ass? Yes, I do.
Amen.
Okay. Do I run a business? Yes, I do. Am I a wife, a sister, a mother to my niece and cat? Yes, I am.
Yes, that part.
Okay, I'm a multifaceted person. My joy brings me more joy. My celebration brings more celebration. I want to honor that. I don't have to choose. I don't have to be one thing to be another. Like, it's okay. I can honor all the things that I am at all times. And I can just show up knowing that I'm enough. I think that's what that's what a hot girl who's on her healing journey has come to understand, or is coming to understand. I don't have any expectation for someone on their healing journey other than a willingness to hold themselves accountable, right? Because first of all, if you can't hold yourself accountable, I can't hold you accountable. Leah can't hold you accountable. Nobody can hold you accountable if you won't, first of all. And then the other part is, to be in community is to allow yourself to be held accountable by the people who are in your community. And so the reason why accountability is so important to me is because it brings safety with it, and it brings a certain amount of structure. Okay, I'm a Virgo, so we like a little structure. Like, we go with the flow too, but I do think there has to be structure in community. And so, yeah, that's what's important. Like, be you and be accountable. That's all we really need.
I think that's so good. Just showing up as yourself is enough. Like, being yourself is enough, but also holding yourself accountable and being willing to be held accountable by your community. That's really rich, because so many times we make promises to ourselves that we break. Like, I know I'm guilty of that all the time. I've been trying to do this, that, and the third for how long, and I still ain't there yet. So being accountable to myself, my community holding me accountable for the promises I make to myself and to them, and how I'm
Yes.
showing up in those spaces is so rich. and standing in that enoughness, because too many of us doubt that in whatever capacity. Like, maybe I'm not good enough for this position, or who am I to start this business, or who am I to demand a safe and healthy love. Like, all of these different
Mhm.
things we question whether or not we're enough, and it's learning to stand firm and
Yeah.
knowing that you are, even if you have growing to do, that's okay. But knowing that you, as you are now, the divine body, divine being that you are now, is enough. So thank you for sharing that. That's so good.
Yes. And remind yourself as many times as you need to.
Hmm. That part.
Yeah, because it's okay to forget sometimes too. I think
Yeah.
it's important. Another part of Hot Girls Healing is we're not pretending and we're not projecting perfection. And I say project because that's all it would be, is a projection. None of us are perfect. And that's
Yes.
another part of the Hot Girls Healing brand that I'm developing is, being imperfect is okay, especially in today's day and age. It's like nobody's perfect, but everyone pretends to be culture going on. And
Yeah.
it's weird for me. I do think it's a little bit of a youthful culture, but at the same time, isn't it just society? You know what I mean? And I'm all about gender affirming care for everybody, right? Because everybody gets gender affirming care and everybody does things that affirms their gender identity. So that's amazing. And I love that for everybody, right? Like I put on my little earrings and I did my hair and I did all kinds of things to affirm me as the feminine being that I am before I presented myself to whatever the world looks like today. But I know in our society, there are also deeper messages about what is pretty, rather, who is pretty and who is not inherently, who is
Yeah.
worthy and who is not inherently. And so that's where the self love comes in. Because again, back all my entire life, I've been cute. I'm gonna just put that on the record. That's not what it's about.
Period.
I've always been told I was cute. I've always been told I was pretty. But it's about more than that, right? The confidence that I had before I started my intentional self-love journey is a different confidence that I had before, but I still thought I was cute back then. So what changed? Right? It's about relationship to myself. I know beyond, right? Because looks can change, they can fade, they can go in and out of style. Though I will say, like, being black ain't never gone out of style. But anyway, people like this and then they like that 10 years later, right? It's about you and your connection to yourself and your knowledge of your inherent value. That's the depth of self-love that I'm talking about. And then put on your lip gloss and know it's popping.
That's really good. That's so important, because you have to believe it first, and if you don't believe it yet, you have to put systems or
Mm-hmm.
practices in place to help you get there to believe it. I don't care if it's being Mary Jane, like put in the
Yep.
the affirmations on the post-its
Yep.
around. Like, I don't care if it's something you repeat to yourself every day. I don't care if it's like you affirming yourself in a voice note and you listen back to that voice note every time you need, whatever it looks like. You have to know it to be true for you first. Everything else is an additive, it's a bonus, it starts internally. So that's really powerful.
Yeah. It's a beautiful journey. I'm telling you, self-love has led me to so many beautiful things. I've stopped sleeping on myself. You know how we all have like
Mm,
that thing where we're like, "Oh, if there was just no, like, if I didn't have to pay for anything and money wasn't an issue, I would just," I'm doing
mm-hmm.
those things. I'm
Yeah.
literally doing those things now. Like, I don't even know how. I don't even know how. It's just through trusting the process and following my joy. In the last few years since I've left the nonprofit sector and started my own business, because mind you, I started a podcast and then I started a business because I was like, wait, this podcast is actually leading me to something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the beauty of
Yeah.
podcasting.
Since I have done this, I've gotten more into my art. I reclaimed all that art from back in the day. I haven't started dancing again, which is I'm finding a particular journey that I'm on with some hurt around dancing that I'm like, wow, okay. So I haven't started dancing again, which I am keeping an eye on emotionally and psychologically. But I've gotten back into my art, like photography. And I've been in several galleries literally since I picked back up the camera, I guess. And
Congratulations.
I'm like,
That's
what?
amazing.
I'm like, wait, so you're telling me self love had me like being like, no, I can. And then I did. Literally just because I decided that I could. Like, that is our inherent power. No one can
Yeah.
stop me but me. That shit's crazy. I'm sorry. I don't even know if I can cuss, but.
No, you can. And at the end of the day, like while you're talking, what it's making me think about is the fact that like self-love is a frequency. Like we can operate on all kinds of them. And I don't mean to sound all woo woo, because when you start talking about certain things, people turn it all the way off. Don't click off. But it really is. If you are operating at the frequency of fear, all you will attract is more fear. If you are operating at the frequency of self sabotage, all you will attract is more self sabotage. If you're pouring into yourself and really honoring self love and affirming yourself and only expecting the best for yourself, I'm not saying that bad things won't happen. However, you will notice that you're operating on the frequency that pulls in more good things for you.
Mm-hmm,
It matters.
mm-hmm.
I think what you describe is operating at that frequency of self love and attracting more things that are already waiting for you and on the same frequency. And I think that's true for you. That's true for me. That's true for you listening. Like, that's true for all of us. So I think it's really important.
I'm glad that you said that because I would roll my eyes so hard when I heard that back in the day. But
I
I'm a
know.
science girly, so this is also scientific, right? Probability. Even if I'm vibrating on peace, on self love, probability still exists. The probability of something bad happening is possible, which means that it will happen because anything that can happen will. You with me, science people? Okay, so this just happened today. I spilled some oil on my pants before we started filming today, this skirt that I'm wearing. And I was vibrating high. I was like, I'm about to film today. It's about to be so cute. Like, I love Aaliyah. It's always a good time to talk. Just doing everything with good energy, putting on my makeup, and I'm putting on some oil. And I dropped some on my skirt, and now there's an oil stain. And I was like, deep breath, move along. You know what I mean? Back in the day, I would have been like, oh, I would have like, yeah, I
Dysregulated.
would have started
Yeah.
crying. Now my outfit's ruined. Now I'm gonna have to. Now I'm imagining the bad repercussions of how this is gonna affect my day later. Now, deep breath, keep moving. I'm like, I'll deal with that later. It's fine. And so it really is about frequency. It doesn't mean the probability no longer exists. It just means I'm moving differently now. I'm the factor that's changing in this equation. And so now the result is going to be different. It has to be.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so powerful too. And even that example to me is just very much giving in a space where your system is more like just
Yeah.
regulated, your nervous system is more regulated, because you can always tell when someone's dysregulated because the smallest thing will become the biggest thing. And I've been there. I will still,
Mm-hmm.
even knowing all that I know, practicing all that I've practiced, everything that I've done, I will still have those moments. So I know that if I am reacting very big to something very small, I'm not doing well. I'm
Mm-hmm.
dysregulated. But you're in a better space when you can brush something small off and move forward and fix it later, and it doesn't impact your entire day. So I think that's also a testament to the beauty of your healing journey and your growth journey, and stepping more into yourself and calming your nervous system, because that's really important too. I would love to talk to you about just balancing your worlds. So the
Mm-hmm.
artistic world and the creative world is one thing, and that's beautiful and powerful. Congratulations again for having your work featured in galleries. That's no small feat. And you also do so much work through your business that is community based. but burnout can still happen. I think it doesn't matter how much our default is to do a thing, and it doesn't matter. It can still happen.
Mhm.
So how do you kind of resist the pressure to turn the work that you're doing, the important work that you're doing, into like constant output? Like, what does it look like for you to just turn off and recenter a little bit to make sure that your cup is full again
Mhm.
as you go out and do all these things, and to make sure that you're not coming from a place of just like constant output and constantly being on, because that is not great for health either.
Yeah, and it's not sustainable. So that is
Exactly.
extremely important for all of us to think about. And this is whether we work, one job or 50, 11 jobs. You got to think about it. So I love this question. And for me, it definitely comes in with a balancing act. I can only do what I can do, just like anybody else. And even though my work pours into me, I still need time to do absolutely nothing. I'm an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert, so I can pop out and show them a little something. But at the end of the day, I gotta go home and sit
Ambivert,
down.
you can do both.
Yeah, but I gotta sit down somewhere and I gotta recharge. So, as I said at the beginning of our conversation here, I do like to nap. I do take a good nap on the weekend. I'm reclaiming every nap I didn't take as a child right
I
now.
love that. I love that.
Yeah. So I nap. I do try to keep at least one day a week clear where I have nothing on my schedule. And that has been an exercise in discipline. Discipline is not just to make you work, discipline is also to make you rest. And I remind myself, put that phone down. If I even see myself checking the email, no, we're not doing that right now, because I can work when it's time to work. So I need to play when it's time to play, and I need to rest when it's time to rest. And that is the discipline that I have with myself.
Yeah, I love that. Just even reiterating taking a nap. Like, gosh, I kind of envy people who could just take a nap. Like, I gotta be really, really tired to just like nap in the middle of the day. I feel like I overthink it so much. I feel like I just have to be up doing something. So when I get tired enough to actually take a nap, I'm feeling so proud of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, yes, good for you, girl. So I love the fact that you do that and you like commit to that. I love the phrase of like reclaiming every nap you didn't take as a child. That just feels so like rebellious and fun.
Well, napping as a kid was hard, right? You didn't want to nap as a kid.
You didn't,
I would
yeah,
literally lay
yeah.
there awake for the whole 2 hours that I was supposed to be napping, just like, when is this going to end?
And yeah,
Remember every nap. And I'd be like,
yeah,
I'm like, how are they asleep? Like, even in kindergarten, because I don't think they nap at
yeah.
kindergarten anymore. When we
Oh,
were
oh
kids,
no.
yeah, when we
Poor
were kids, they
kids.
was napping in kindergarten.
Oh
So I
no.
had a nap every day in kindergarten that I did not take. I was quiet and I was a good student, so my teacher would let me play quietly because I could play quiet enough. She knew I had a billion siblings at home. I know how to play quiet.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
would just let me play eventually, but like I never took those naps. Now as an adult, I'm like, dang, kids are built different because let me get a nap.
Shout out to that teacher for, giving you an opportunity to like do something else with your time. And I also love what you're saying about discipline also being for your like rest too, not just for getting stuff done. That's so important. And I personally have like this relationship with the word. I try to use words that feel more like, I don't know, just good to my body, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. And I said like 2025 is my year of devotion. So I
Mm-hmm.
also feel like devotion is a good way or a good word or good substitute for that for people who might also struggle with that word. But it's the same thing. It's like honoring what you need, doing the things that support you, that pour into your self-love, that refill your cup, that help you to feel the most easeful, the most regulated, all of those things. So I think that's so important, and I love to hear that too. It offers a good perspective shift around that word. Like, it's not just for the hard stuff. It's also for play. It's also for rest. It's also for fun. It's also for like decompressing at the end of a long week. Like, Yeah,
Yeah.
honoring yourself in that way.
That's actually why I use discipline too, because discipline was only used for, it was like the word consequence, which is also not inherently a
Yeah.
negative word, but it's
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
ever used as one. So I will use consequence positively for myself as well. I'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, if I do this, then my consequence will be I can, whatever the positive thing is, because it was never
Yeah.
positive, but it can be. So I want to remind myself of
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I love that too because it's also a way of just being like the things that we've been taught, the things that we've been conditioned to believe don't have to be that way. We can recreate all of this stuff for ourselves at any point to make it work for us. So,
Mhm.
like, let's do that, please. Like,
And
I
reclaim that
love that.
power, that personal power. That's our personal
Yeah.
power to reframe whatever we need to reframe in our lives.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I would love to jump into some beliefs you have, even more than we've talked about, because we've talked about beliefs around identity, we've talked around all of that stuff, but I would love to jump into some beliefs around like healing, identity, leadership, that kind of stuff for you. Just beliefs that maybe you once held that just no longer fit in this season,
Mhm.
and like just new truths that you're learning to live by. Like you've shared so many already, but even in this season, in this moment,
Mhm.
in this month, in this year, like things that are coming up for you that maybe were long held beliefs that you're
Mhm.
shifting because you're learning they no longer fit. They're not your truth, and you're learning a new way to live.
That's so good. Definitely one big one is that whole mastery mindset. Not that I don't want to be a master of whatever it is that I'm doing, but I have set that down and picked up the growth mindset where I will grow into whatever it is that I need to. Whatever skills I need to acquire to get to the next thing that I'm working towards, I can. That's the mindset that I want to have. I want to believe that I can achieve whatever I need through community. I don't have to do it alone. That's one of my biggest shifts in perspective, is that I do not have to do it alone. And I can trust people to help me, to support me, to care about me. All of that is true. Like, people won't fail you. Some will, but some won't.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. I saw something the other day on Instagram. I don't remember exactly who I saw it from. Well, I'm going to butcher it, but it's basically like, you know, the inherent enemy of capitalism is community. And I feel like, especially in this time, in this era, especially as how we look and identify in this world right now, we need community more than ever. And it's okay to lean on people. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to have the expectation and the hope and the type of relationship where we show up for each other, and I think that's really rich. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. It's so funny when I fell off because when you were first saying beliefs, I was like, oh my God, now I get to talk about all my conspiracy theories.
Oh, we can talk about those too. Listen,
As a
I don't know if you want to get me started, but
yeah, I'm like, as a millennial, I believe too many conspiracy theories. Like, they really got our generation.
same. Same. I mean, at this point, are any of them? Yeah, I don't
Look,
know.
I'm always like, conspiracy doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah, me too. Like we could go on a whole
Get my
tangent.
foil
That'd be a
hat,
whole
y'all.
other episode. That'd be a whole other episode. But I'm just like, yeah, we could have gone there. But
Yeah.
yes,
No, but
thank you for
limiting
sharing those.
beliefs.
Yeah.
Limiting
Yes.
beliefs were the ones I had to put behind me for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a thing in and of itself too. Like so many of us hold those limiting beliefs. It's so interesting. This is making me because you mentioned it too that you can you exist in duality. You can be an extrovert, you can be an introvert. I describe myself as more introverted. Learning that a lot of the people that I look up to that present a certain way are actually more introvert, like they're describing themselves that way. And I was talking to someone the other day and they were basically asking me, how committed to that identity are you? Like, can you see yourself another way? Like, can you describe yourself another way? Like, can you start to believe that you can be another way? And I'm like, I mean, I know I can. I've been in positions and situations where I can show up differently, but at my core, I know what I need to take care of myself. And it is a
Right.
recharge. It is occasional solitude. It is stepping away from the madness and the noise. But if I want to excel in certain spaces, especially when it comes to like being a business owner and like having to put on a little bit more of an extroverted hat sometimes to network, to get the client, like all of those things, it made me think. Them asking me that made me think about how committed I am, and it made me also think about how much is that like a limiting belief
Mm.
about myself versus one that feels like expansive, and it feels true, but I feel like when I solely describe myself that way it feels more limiting than it does like expansive, I guess. So even you bringing up limiting beliefs is just very interesting to me. It makes me think. There's a tangent to say it makes me think.
Yeah, no, it makes me think too. Like the whole way that I even, because I'm like, I don't have limiting beliefs. I have
Yeah.
crazy beliefs. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe I'm capable of anything that I want to achieve at this point. But I did this exercise where someone was like, what's your biggest dream? Imagine it. Like, hold that. Now make it bigger. Okay, now make that even bigger. And I was like, I
Yeah.
was just getting blown away. I was like, there's no way. But like my biggest
Yeah.
dream, well, it could have been like up to like so many times. And it was by this
Yeah.
exercise that I did. And I found that that was a limited belief. Like I was
Yeah.
believing with some limited reality of what was capable and what was possible for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you have to like think even bigger than the biggest thing you've thought, because who knows what you've been taught to believe is possible. You have to be the
Yeah.
one to think beyond what you've been taught is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think about I believe in like a visual vision board, sure, but like living ones
Mm,
too. So and it's sure, if I'm being honest and human, certain feelings might come up if I see different examples of people living a life or a lifestyle that I deeply desire. But 95% of the time it's like, oh, I love that, like I aspire to that,
mm,
like I haven't, like, oh, I haven't thought about that for myself, I haven't thought about that before, but seeing this example of someone doing it and existing this way and like moving through the world in this way opens my mind up to what is possible for me.
yeah.
So I feel like I'm very much in a season of challenging limiting beliefs. I'm very much in a season of challenging like my identity and how I show up in the world and like what this society tells me I have to do versus what I feel deeply committed to doing and how I feel committed to existing in this life. But yeah, that's just really rich. It makes me think about like what limiting beliefs are coming up for me and like how can I continue to challenge them and like grow beyond them
Yeah.
into beliefs that feel more expansive and like bigger for me and like what bigger could be possible. So yeah,
Yeah.
really good. Yeah. Okay. So I want to know what the people don't know. You are, like you said, multifaceted. You're a multidimensional person. You exude so much positivity and care and just self awareness and healing energy for yourself and for others, even in the short interactions that we've had together, all the way on different
Yeah.
coasts of the states. But I would love to know like what is a part of yourself that you feel like people often overlook or misunderstand about you, even for the folks who may know you and follow your work closely. What's something that they might overlook or misunderstand?
I don't know how people get the impression of this, but I I struggle. Like I am a happy person. I do tend to have a positive disposition, and I'm also like maybe the friend. Like maybe I'm the strong friend. Probably am. I do tend to be the person that
Yeah.
people come to.
Yes.
But I also have moments of, you know, feeling lonely or feeling down. I didn't develop a self-love business because everything was already peachy keen with me and I was just so good. So my business is built from lived experience and from practice, um and from research and professional pursuits as well, obviously. But those were like Western requirements, right? The degree, putting the business plan, and filing the things. Those were requirements that had to be done for the business to be legal and for me to have credentials that some people would respect. But the self-love and relationship healing, that's lived experience. That's me doing the work. That's me doing some research and doing some things that I would have done in school and that I learned to do in school. And, I looked at statistics and studies and all that. Of course, of course. But it's lived experience. It's doing the work. It's taking the time. It's a journey that I started when I was 18 years old. I hadn't even gone to college yet, right? So this is a long time coming for me, and nothing happens overnight, even if it looks like it did. So that is what people don't know about me, I would think. Or that's what I've been led to believe, that people don't know about me through certain experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if you have to question or think if you're the strong friend, you're probably the strong friend. And I hope that this season of your life brings you more folks who check in on you too, and that you can also go to, that it feels reciprocal for you. And also recognizing that we're all like, you're fully human. We're all fully human. So even if we show up a certain way, sometimes like we are all going through our own personal battles and struggles. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that you go through those things too. So for folks who may not realize or recognize or honor that fact, that it is part of your truth too. So that's really powerful.
Yeah, and that's just the reminder that people are more than one thing. Um,
Yeah.
just, I do like to be a positive force in the community. And people who are positive, it doesn't mean that they don't feel anything negative, just like people who show up and are maybe a little bit more grumpy or negative sometimes. They have their good days too. And you're like, wow, they're in a good mood today, or whatever it is. Like, we all out here multifaceted and going through our own things. And I really do think it's very important to be a kind face, a kind presence in the community, a soft place to land.
Yes, a soft place to land. I love that. You made me laugh. I was muted, but I was laughing hard when you used the grumpy example because I'm just like, that might be me. I'm just saying. Anyway,
I love it.
speaking of the soft place to land, you talk a lot about safe spaces. That's something we talked about quite a bit on our episode together on the Hot Girls Healing podcast. And I would love to talk a little bit more about why it's so important to have safe spaces, and what do you truly define as a safe space, and what are some things that folks need to kind of learn or unlearn about what it means to cultivate a
Mhm.
safe space.
Yeah. I know there's like a lot of debate about whether any space can be like a safe space, or like, I know a lot of people are saying like brave space now. I do like to stick with safe space because I do think that we can hold such a space. I think it's possible. I think that only within a safe space can you like really be brave, because if I'm in an unsafe space, like, I'm not really being brave. I'm just surviving. Like, whatever actions I'm doing within that space are for survival. But if I'm in a safe space, then I think I can be brave. I can take that step beyond what is necessary for survival and go into a different space. So I hold safe spaces. I believe that community can hold safe spaces for each other. And the way that I go about doing this is being vulnerable. Yeah. One, it takes a lot to be vulnerable.
It does.
So if we're in a space where we're being vulnerable, everyone's energy is being used to hold that vulnerability. Once I've been vulnerable and other people become vulnerable, then the energy in the space becomes sacred. And when a space is sacred, you will be more than brave up in that sacred space. We're about to transform, we're about to evolve, we're about to shed, we're going to become unburdened because now it's a sacred space. And you can only get to sacred space by going through safety. You can't get to the sacred space through trauma, dysregulation, and all that other that's going to be happening in the brave space. In my mind, somebody else's brave space probably looks different, but this is just what I think of when people say brave space. I'm like, no, I had to be brave. It wasn't cute. But in the safe space, I believe that, we can be vulnerable. Once more of us are vulnerable, the space becomes sacred. And so once I'm in this sacred space where other people are being vulnerable, even if I myself am not engaging in being vulnerable, I'm holding that space and honoring the vulnerability that's taken place. And through witnessing healing, I'm healing too, because it's this relationship that we all have to each other. When we see someone else get hurt, we get hurt too. When we see someone else heals, a part of us heals as well. The end.
I ain't got nothing to add to that. That was so profound. Like, even you just explaining moving from the safe space to the sacred space, and despite people's feelings about the brave space, only having gone through the safe and the sacred, we really get to the true version of brave. Like, I just imagined going through that process with someone, a friend, anyone. And I felt that in my heart. So I think that was really profound. So you mentioned an activity you had done. I had done one similar around like New Year's. Justin Michael Williams, every year he does a New Year's Eve celebration manifestation thing, and that was part of one of our activities too. Was like, dream something up for yourself. Now make it bigger. Now make it bigger than that. And that activity made me feel like, wow, like what do I imagine for myself? Because I started out really small. It wasn't like the most extravagant. It didn't turn into the most extravagant thing in the world, but it was a vision that felt really good to me. I was living in a home, like in a style that I really like. I had the view in the distance that I really loved. I was surrounded by my friends, my family, like pets, my love, like all the things. It was just a beautiful vision, like for what I could imagine for myself. And I'm just very curious for you, like either personally or professionally, and you've shared some things you're working to create through your business right now. But either personally or professionally or both, what are some things that you're dreaming up for yourself right now? Maybe some things that you haven't shared with a lot of folks yet, but it's percolating in your mind and your heart.
Yeah. Ooh, I am working on some things. Yes. Your girl is. I feel like I might be like, you know how when they say people are like pregnant with an idea or pregnant with like a project?
Yes, we birth
Yes. Your
projects.
girl
Yes.
is carrying right now.
Love it. I love it. I love
And
it.
I'm so excited about it. I feel like what's really the era I'm going in is into the storytelling era, which is whew, oh my gosh. I feel that my ancestors want this. I feel that they want this story told. And to declare myself a storyteller feels very bold. I was thinking when you're talking again about that, your biggest dream and make it bigger, I was like, when did I become so humble? Like that was when I was like making my dream bigger and bigger. I was like, oh my God, look, I'm just a humble little girl on a farm. All I wanted was my 40 acres and a mule at the end of the day. I think, well, that's what I
Mm-hmm.
started with. But yeah, like you gotta dream bigger. And once I've made it bigger and bigger, like that, this being so audacious as to tell my own story or to tell a story or to something around storytelling is coming up in me. And it's wild because writing is something that I've been afraid of for a while. It started with journaling and just like my thoughts and emotions being criticized and picked apart. And, but that's what artistry is anyway. I've signed up for
Yeah.
that in several ways. So, um, it's releasing this fear of failing that comes through self love, knowing I'm worthy if I succeed and I'm just as worthy if I fail, has opened me up to being willing to storytell, which is such a deeply indigenous and African thing to do, is to tell a
Yeah.
story. And so, especially to tell the truth through storytelling is such a deeply indigenous and African thing to do. So I think it's a part of my decolonization journey, my self-love journey and practice is these storytelling projects that I'm working on.
I love that. I'm so excited to see that and stay tuned in whatever capacity like you're creating it. Like I want to read, I want to listen, all the things. And it definitely ties back to our origin. Some of the first ways that we recorded histories wasn't just like the carvings, it was spoken word, it was oral history. And I feel like that's becoming a lost art as society continues to grow into whatever it grows into these days, but also as different communities and indigenous groups and tribes and native people like continue to feel the impacts of colonization all over the world. So to reclaim that as your birthright, as your next step now in this season as a part of your future and your legacy feels really powerful. So I'm very excited to see what comes. Thank you for sharing that here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have loved every minute of this. This has just been so rich on so many levels, beyond and in addition to healing. So just thank you for showing up vulnerably today. Thank you for showing up honestly as yourself in your enoughness, all of the things. And I feel inspired and transformed from this conversation. So thank you. Can you let folks know where to find you, where to follow you, where to support your work, where to learn more about your business, all of the things?
Well, first, thank you, Aaliyah, so much for the space that you're holding, the stories that you're telling, your willingness to be a beacon for our community and to be someone who honors us in real time. I think for our community, anyone who sees us, truly sees us in real time, has like some special sight. Thank you for sharing that and for inviting me onto your platform. Folks, if you would like to connect with me or get in contact with me, listen to the Hot Girls Healing podcast. You can find all of that on my social media at Hot Girls Healing Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn. If you want
That's
to,
okay too.
if you're more on the professional side of things, send me a connection request on LinkedIn. I really am someone who is open to networking in person as well. So if you listen to this podcast episode and you see me in the Seattle area or somewhere else, because I'll be traveling, I'll be out here, just,
Yes.
yeah, say hello. Let's chat. Let's chop it up. I'm about my community. I'm about art. I'm about love. So if it's any of those things, let's talk. We can do more together than we can alone.
That's so beautiful. And I receive all of that. Thank you. I'm holding that deeply. And everything that you shared will be linked in the episode description in the show notes. So folks will be able to find you easily. Thank you again so much. This has been so powerful.
It really has. Thank you so much, Aaliyah.